Hello, hello, good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Welcome to week 5, and today's topic is seasonal regimen. Last week we had the daily routine, and now we are actually going a little bit broader, looking at it from our environment. Where do we live, and how do the seasons that we are in affecting our bodies on constant level, and what can we do about it? And I have, of course, no idea where you all are, if everyone is actually where, kind of where we should be, which is you should have, if you went according to plan, then you should be now have submitted the quiz for week 5. And I'm just going quickly into the gallery view. So who is actually there? Who has submitted week 5? Deborah has, Julia has, Marie has, Kathleen has, Joseph has, and Sue has, and some of them you have not. That's fine. Just for me to give me an idea, even when we speak, that I can see who is who is where in the course right now, because I already got someone who already wanted to start with week 7. So someone is really way ahead. And to be honest, I wasn't ready, because the quiz for 6 wasn't even up. And so they were saying, okay, I can't move on to 7. The quiz is not working. And then I just wrote back, well, it isn't working because it's not even up on the website yet. But it is now. So they caught me out a little bit. So anyway, my question to you is, what happened to you this week? Where were you? What were your experiences wherever you are? It doesn't really matter if you're in week 4 or in maybe even 3 or now in 5. What happened to you? Anything particular that happened this week that you would like to talk about before we go into our topic? Who wants to share? You can just unmute yourself, or you can raise your hands if you know how to do that. Anyone wants to speak? Masha.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to be answering this question correctly, because you said something about going to the topic. But this was one of the easier weeks for me, because it was about health and well-being, and I was familiar with it. In that, in the past few weeks, I'm learning a new language, and it doesn't come easy to me. And the funniest thing that I thought of was at one of the last questions they asked, they referred back to the first 2 weeks. And I said, are you kidding me? I want to be able to digest it and understand it. And I am where I'm at. You know, this is the first time in the history of my life that I've ever been late for an assignment. I mean, not this week, the past 2 weeks. I said, what? What? And just digesting that and owning it, and it's okay, and I didn't make myself bad and wrong. Well, not for too long.
Okay.
And I liked the idea that it was about health and well-being, because that's what I'm all about. You know, that's my major focus. That's all I got.
Yeah, and what you were saying is, I think you're referring to the question when you were actually going to the plants that are growing around in your area, and the question was then, how do they impact on the dhatus and the doshas. And the reason for that is that what we are trying to do here, not me necessarily, but whoever came up with the question, I think it was one of the Ayurshakti doctors or Clint, is actually to put everything in perspective, because what we are trying to learn here is, and it has to do with health and wellness, is actually how can we, first of all, what we did, how do things in our environment impact positively or negatively on our constitution, on our body. But then what plants, what things in our environment which are actually growing out there and are actually helping us to come back into balance. And just talking about myself, I'm living here in the Bahamas. I moved here 5 years ago, and I had no idea that fruits that grow here in my garden, more or less, mangoes, coconuts, and guava, that they have so much medicinal value. But what was even more astonishing to me is that all of those tropical plants were actually mentioned in the old scriptures in India, and there are very clear indication what they do to your doshas and to your dhatus. And for me, that was so eye-opening that this actually was happening. And now I know that if I eat mangoes or the coconuts right from the tree, what they do to my body. And this is why we need to kind of do this little bit of research even to learn a little bit more what we are actually have maybe in our garden, in the herbs that we are growing in our own little garden or in the kitchen. How can we actually use them to help ourselves and maybe even our friends? And that is now bringing everything into perspective. And you will see that the more we go on in the course, you will feel that sometimes we are referring back to something that we already covered, but now we are looking at it a little bit from a different angle and bringing it all together. That's kind of what we want to do. But that's enough now for me. I want to hear from you. So Deborah, you were the first one to raise your hand, and then we have Kathleen and Susan.
It's funny how this paradigm of looking at the health is so different. I'm struggling to try to relate it to something that I know, and I'm having trouble with it because it's like I'm trying, pitta kapha, and so it says in the winter you're storing more kapha, and then you have to detox what's built up over the winter. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to relate that to almost like the body types to like a personality type, but it's more like qualities or characteristics. So I'm still not being able to wrap my mind around it. It's still kind of chaos in there. So I'm looking forward to being able to put some of that together.
Mm-hmm. That's totally normal. Totally normal. And I mean, I don't know where you want to go with the whole thing, if you really want to even become a practitioner at some point. And then, but what they told us to do, if you want to become a practitioner and you have someone like in your environment, like from your family or friend who wants to have an appointment with an Ayurshakti doctor, that you can actually listen in and you can actually then hear what these doctors are saying. And you might even pick up quite a few things, why they are doing certain things. And this is one way of learning. And I find that an amazing opportunity actually for all of us who want to go on, that we have the opportunity to listen in to someone when they do actually these kind of assessments and these appointments with one of the Ayurshakti doctors. So just that you know that if you want to go on, that is then in the books as well for us. And then you will see, go on.
Well, that's one of the things I really noticed if going on as a practitioner, because I learn by doing. I've got one of those learning styles when I can't learn by reading and I have to learn by doing. So it's like, I'd almost have to be with a practitioner side by side, you know, learning by doing. And so I study as a naturopath. I just basically use the homeopathy out of that for family and friends, but I've worked in the hospital as a nurse for years and years and years. So I'm trying to just marry the paradigms. So it's going to be interesting, but I'll have to see how that program is set up. But I'd actually have to have a clinical piece with somebody that knew what they were doing for me to get something out of it.
Yep, this is coming as well. There will be time where that you spend then with doctors in that course, but that is outside of what I actually even know yet. I just know bits and pieces how it's going to happen. And this is what you were just saying is actually, Deborah is so right. And one of the biggest things or the most important things you can do is actually use yourself as a study object. And that is why I was saying last week, even if you implement too many things at the same time, you don't know which of the things you implemented had actually a certain effect. And this is why it's so much better to really do one thing for a few days and see what happens, take notes, and then you do the next and see what happens. Only this way you actually get to know your body and get to know what certain things are doing to your body. And that is then what you can apply and maybe even put forward to somebody else, because it's your own experience. So this is why Clint insisted, or the whole course insists actually on us doing this kind of self-study. Okay, Kathleen, you are the next.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to say I'm a little lost in the terms and the clinical study of doshas, dashas, pitas, all of this. On our week 3, unfortunately, I was traveling. I was staying with a large family, and it was, I think that week there was so much thrown at us on the whole, all these terms. It's a new language and the study of our whole well-being. And I missed a lot. And I tried to study with little bits and pieces. So I'm kind of confused when we go into that quiz and they're asking these technical questions. And also for me to be able to assess my own body, I'm not sure I'm understanding this well. This last week was easy for me too. It was my own language. So my question is, and another thing, when we're watching the coursework, the videos, it seems every week we get a video from the course last course, the last term.
Yes.
Right. And in those videos, it seems like each pod had a doctor in it. So that's our pods are where we can ask questions. In our pod, I think every one of us is brand new. We really don't have any knowledge. I mean, it's kind of tough. So I want to know where I can go back. And also when I listen to the doctors on our Zoom, half the time I can't understand them and they're speaking English. So it's a little frustrating. I'm trying to take notes. So, and I am not an audio learner. I'm a kinesthetic learner, but also I read well. So if I can go back and read and get caught up somewhere, I don't know where to understand this more thoroughly as we move through the course. Because when we're done with this course, which costs a pretty penny to join it, we can't get back into those course videos and get that information. So
you have another 3 months to definitely go back into those, definitely to go through all of them again. But let me just answer one of the questions that you had. What can you do if you are a visual learner? I know there is some issues with some of the dialects that some of the doctors have, or because they are from India, and they are not as easy to understand. What you can do is actually, when you click on the video, you can actually choose to play it on, it might actually work on the website as well, but it definitely works when you go and watch it on YouTube. And then you can click on what is called closed caption. And then everything that is said in the video shows actually up as text. However, it's a machine that's doing that, and it's not always similar like you. It doesn't understand what they are saying. So sometimes what is coming up as what you can read also doesn't make sense, but it might help you in quite a lot of instances to actually understand what they are saying. And you can at the same time, then it's written. And if you are like a learner that likes it written down, and even to take notes. That might be an option for everyone who has is a little bit challenged with understanding.
And
But
Cornelia, I'd like to add to that. What I do is slow the speed down, and it's nice
yeah,
to pause it, and I can write
yeah.
something because it's just full of great information. But if I can't understand it, it's so frustrating.
I mean, you have now the advantage that we didn't have when we went through the course, because we were live and we couldn't stop the video. We had to go through it in the speed they were talking. And then, of course, we had to go back and then re-listen. And I mean, this is one of the things that I would recommend as well, to listen to it more than once. Because also you will get used to the way they speak. And once you go back several times and you get, I mean, I had difficulties at the beginning with the Indian dialect as well, but now I understand it pretty well because I'm getting used to it.
Okay,
So that is.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to get my one more question in. On the Marmor points, on the videos, we saw where Dr. Naram actually showed how to do the Marmor points, but I never saw, I still don't know how nothing's been demonstrated on that except what we read in the book. Are we going to get anything else on that? Yeah. We
have a whole session on Marmor points. Okay. So that is coming. This is a completely different training. So, but that is really, it's coming. So we have 2 lessons on diets. We have another lection then on Marmor points. We also do an overview of pulse healing, which is something that is not so easy to grasp, but it's one of the last ones. So it's building on each other. So, and for you, I would go back and see, I'd rather, I don't know exactly how you want to proceed, but if I don't understand the basics, which is the doshas and the dhatus right now, and the pitta and kapha and what they really mean, go back to those first before you continue. Because if you don't have really this understanding right now, then everything that is building on that is difficult to understand. And I don't know if you have watched the video from Dr. Wexler, where he talks about the terms that can help you. And it's the first one when you go in the bonus material, and it gives you an incredible, easy overview of what that all is. Okay. It's easy to understand. It's not these technical terms. It's really from a practical point of view. And he does a brilliant job in explaining the dhatus and it. So just go, if you haven't done that yet, I would recommend you watch that.
Okay.
And take notes with that as well. And because it really helped me understand the whole thing as well, much better than just watching the training video.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then we go, I have quite a few raised hands. So Susan, you are next. And I want to welcome first, Susan, before you speak, I just want to welcome everyone who has joined us in the meantime. We are just asking questions and answering questions that are coming, or any observations from the week. Susan.
Hi. So I wanted to share an observation that I had because it was enlightening for me. I was looking at the foods that I normally eat, and I thought it was really interesting that the foods I normally eat are mostly stimulating foods. And I have a lot of pitta in me, and I just thought it was really interesting to see how much fire I consume and how much pitta I have. And so I'm in the beginning stages, but I thought, well, gosh, I'm eating so many stimulating foods. I love spicy foods and on and on. And to be able to get it that, oh, there's a reason why I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm so hot. And, you know, it's like we had chili this week, and I haven't had chili since I did my 28-day for a very long time. And I knew that that was going to be a problem, but I went ahead and did it anyway. And all night long, so hot, so hot, so hot. So I'm kind of excited because it takes me to a new level of responsibility for my own health to really kind of get it that, oh, that's why I'm having these experiences. It really is what I eat. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to share that. And I thought it would be a really interesting exercise that people could take a look at, what do you normally eat? And then to be able to classify that in terms of cooling and stimulating and just in the different ways we're learning. Um, it was just enlightening for me. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
That is brilliant. Thank you so much, Susan, for sharing that, because actually that is a really good exercise. And we are dealing with, next week, we are still dealing with herbs and spices. So you can definitely do that and see what the spices are doing, and some herbs, and some of them are also the formulas from Ayurveda Shakti. And then 2 weeks, like weeks 7 and 8, they are then about diets. And that is definitely where you can then really look into what are you eating, and pay attention. And that would be really a good thing to do, what you just said, looking at what am I eating and trying to classify them. What are they doing to my body? And might that be a reason why as you said, you didn't sleep, or you got hot, or things like that. So that is great self-observation.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Okay.
Thank you for sharing, Susan.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye, Julia. It's you now. And then we have Robert and Bill.
Great. Thank you so much. I had such an amazing time learning this week. It was interesting to go through the material about the seasons, and to have all these questions come up as I look at the diagram. I'm trying to relate it to myself, and I can relate to Kathleen in that we have a lot of questions, and I've even emailed some questions, and I haven't received a response back for some of the questions. And so I'm not sure how we get responses back. Like there's some things that I think only Smita can answer, or some of the other doctors. And for example, I started wondering, as I've seen different kinds of information come through as I've done my own research about ghee, because Marianji, who was in New York, who worked with Dr. Naram for many years, did a video about how to make medicinal ghee. And she claims that to make the liquid gold that is the true medicinal ghee, you have to cook it without touching the butter for 9 hours, and to get it to be the purest. And that is the proper way to make it. And yet every other video, every other guru video I've seen online, and I've done massive research, I have not found one other person that talks about cooking it that long. Everyone else says, oh, you only takes 15 minutes to an hour, and you can make it very quickly. And that's basically clarified butter. So things like that. I started getting lots and lots of questions. And even Clint posted on the website a video of someone making ghee, and it was very quick. And yet we have the Marianji one. So we start getting those questions about how to do this or how to do that. And so what I found also is that as all these questions come up of for example, with the seasons, and how do I apply this map that's for Eastern or part of the world to me right now? But I loved the awareness, the questioning that started happening, and becoming aware of where I'm at. And it was so fun to go around the neighborhood and have the assignment to check out herbs and spices, and to do the research, to like say, okay, I have a basil plant here. What about basil? And I thought that holy basil and regular sweet basil was the same, that it acted the same in the body. Well, it caused me to do my own research, and I found they're a completely different plant, have completely different purposes, and one is not to be used for the other. They just have the same kind of name. So the Tulsi that is referred to, I've been using regular basil, and I'm like, okay, now I need to go find some holy basil. So I love the awareness that we get of, and being able to go around the neighborhood. And I have a neighbor who has a rosemary bush, and so I was able to pick some rosemary, and I loved researching that. And I actually made some rosemary water, some rosemary tea, and learned it's really good for the brain. And I started drinking that every day. And I started thinking about, what other things do I have in my yard? And I saw some video about marigolds. I have a lot of marigold flowers. And someone actually ate the marigold flowers, and they have a medicinal property. And so it's just fascinating. We have all these things right around us, you know, sage plants and things that I don't use. And as we had this exercise to research, as well as to feel and experience these spices and herbs and things, you know, even cardamom seeds, to chew up cardamom seeds and learn that, you know, the Egyptians used to chew cardamom seeds to whiten their teeth. And just kind of learning, why cardamom seeds? Well, I have a lot of digestive issues, and that is a fabulous spice that you can create, you know, milk, or put it in a multitude of different drinks. The super energy drink has cardamom, and cardamom is a spice that many people don't even know about, but you can grind it yourself, and it really helps your stomach. And so it's just so fabulous to have this exercise, and it made me very curious, to keep being curious, to keep looking around me and walking the neighborhood and picking little pieces of lavender and this and that, and to say, what can I learn more about the seasons and what's available, like Cornelia said, right around me. And then how can I use this knowledge to help others? Come to find out, I have some really good friends, a couple who lives right down the street from me. They never took COVID seriously. They didn't wear masks or anything. Well, they both have COVID really bad right now. They're 12 days into it, and they're coughing, and they're having a really hard time. So today I'm going to make some ginger, garlic, turmeric tea, and make up a batch, and, you know, educate them and help them to learn about the immune system. Because, you know, we can start sharing this and just little things that we learn. And I love that you brought up, for like Kathleen, the bonus video, because that was one thing that did help me. I still have a ways to go in understanding, but you guys, you're not alone in this comprehension of the doshas and the dhatus and the seasons and how it all works together, and how we weave it in our own brain, because it is a whole different paradigm than we're used to when we're looking at the circulatory system and the nervous system. And now all of a sudden you have this whole different system that seems very vague. And as, like, for me, even the way that the doshas are referred to, they're used in different ways. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around, okay, now they're using it in this way instead of this other way. And so I think it's going to take time for us to figure it out and to relate what we know to what they're saying, and so that we can speak the same language. And I think that's it. It's languaging. We're trying to figure out how to talk about it. And yeah, it's going to take some time. And I think the more videos we watch, the bonus videos, and like with diet, I noticed that there was one that Smita and Krishna do, but I would just recommend, you know, be curious, be questioning, have a beginner's mindset, keep that mind open, and let go of the frustration, because we don't have to be frustrated. We just need to be open and questioning, and write down your questions, write down, and you know, we can reach out, and we can keep reaching out. Like, I haven't gotten an answer back about the ghee, but I'm going to keep asking. And that's what we got to do, is be the squeaky wheel and let them know, look, we need to know more about these things. And, you know, another thing I wanted to share was that the oils, oiling the body. Wow. I've been using the coconut oil at night and sesame oil we ordered online, and putting it on the roof of my head, and in the ears, and in the navel, and on the bottom of my feet with a little lavender. I've been sleeping like a baby, and it's really different. I've been having different dreams, more positivity. And so, because one of my journeys this time is to elevate my emotional and mental state, and to get more clear and focused, and to just feel better about myself. And so anyway, I've had a really exciting week, learning and growing and experimenting and reviewing, and yeah, there's a long way to go. So that's my share for the week.
Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing. And I will speak to one of the things in a little bit. The only thing that I would like to mention right now is actually, I hope you are really keeping a journal with what you just said. You're doing all of this and now you're sleeping much better, to really keep track of what you're doing and then taking the notes, what happens in your body, because that is really what gives us the experience in ourselves. And this is then where it's actually going from trying to learn something into really embodied learning, where we understand much more why things are happening. Okay, Robert, it's your turn. Unmute
Hey,
yourself.
everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so I missed actually the last 2 weeks. I was, and that's kind of almost, I just had a really profound experience. I was able to do like 10 days of silence at a Vipassana meditation retreat. And that was part of my healing journey that Clinton prescribed to me when I saw him and like went to one of his clinics. And anyway, I'm really excited to be back. Honestly, that experience helped tie a lot of this all together. Like the philosophies and the way that they talk about seeing the world as it really is and how things are always changing. And they even got down on like the subatomic particles and some of the discourses of how the way that they vibrate together can change how things are, like it changes how they manifest in our body. And it seemed to go really well with the doshas and everything we've been learning here. And it's interesting because I feel like I'm having the opposite experience where I have family members that were, like nurses and in the medical industry, and they use these complex Latin terms and all these different types of systems that I could sort of understand what they do, but they never made sense or how to actually change some of those and heal. My only option was taking whatever drug they give you. And now it seems like, oh, this is written in the most basic way for anyone to understand. It's the simple elements that everyone's familiar with and realizing, I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like I'm just almost having the opposite experience where health is actually making sense now. And I feel like, oh, I can tell this pitta energy, which is, it's like if you're cooking the food too hot, then you're burning all the nutrients out of it. As a kid, I could eat. Everyone asked if I had a hollow leg because my pitta was just so strong that I would eat food and I wasn't getting any nutrients. So I could just eat forever. And then, I don't know, I've just found it really profound. And, but I'm just excited to be back. And I mostly wanted to share that. And I'm just glad to be with such positive people. And anyway, so thank you all.
Yeah, great, Robert, for you being back. And yeah, you're right. That is a very profound experience being on silent. And so you will catch up with everything that, in a sense, you missed. But the recordings are up as well on the website, so you can watch the calls if you want to. Bill, you are next. Okay, we have an echo.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good morning. Delightful
Good
to be
morning.
here with you. Okay, I had a couple of questions and I went over some of the reading and the videos. One mentioned that in summer, we should focus on cool, heavy, and bland foods. And I wasn't sure what heavy foods to eat in the summer meant. Any clarification on that?
Okay. I don't know off
Can
the
you hear
bat,
me?
but we will. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, did you get my question?
I got your question. I'm not sure what, I think they have a list of the heavy foods in here. And, but let me see. They don't really say exactly what the heavy foods are, but I can tell you definitely, because I just read about it, but for me at the moment, I'm going through the weeks 7 and 8 for the material. So they are mixing all together. There's definitely a whole list of heavy foods and the different things. So it's coming, But
It's
right
coming.
off the
All right,
bat, I couldn't answer that. But maybe
that's fine.
we have a little presentation from Poppy later on. Maybe she knows and can
Okay.
speak to it right away. So let's wait and see, or if anyone else knows it. We have some
That sounds
people that
good.
might actually know something about it. They can just jump in and answer the question. Any other
great.
question, Bill?
Yeah, I had one other one, and that was talks about kapha liquefying in the spring and aggravating in the spring. And I'm trying to get my head wrapped around what that actually means. I'm not sure what liquefies when you talk about kapha liquefying in the spring, what that meant. And perhaps that's just somebody using our language that isn't as familiar with the words and terminology. But so anyway, if you could maybe explain that. And then how is it that seasons and climate cause kapha to aggravate at that time of year? What is that influence going on? Is it the climate that's literally creating that?
Of course, it's when you look at the when we talk about climate, we have to always look at where are we living. And depending on, for example, we are now, I don't know exactly where you are, Bill, but I think you're in the Northern Hemisphere. So you are north of the equator. And that means when you go through the seasons, the influence of the sun, for example, changes all the time. The angle at which the sun shines on the earth is different every single day. And we have then, when we go into spring, the days are getting longer. So you have more time where the days are actually getting longer. And the further north you are, the longer the days are in the summer and the shorter the nights are. And of course, because of the different lights, there is a different influence on our body. The same is with temperature. We are then in different climates. Of course, in the summer, it is then, if you are particularly living in the north somewhere, like I'm from Germany, so I lived in Hamburg, which is on the same height actually as Dublin and London, not so far. So it's pretty far north. So our days in the summer were extremely long. It didn't get dark until by like 10 o'clock in June. But then in the winter, it's dark at 4 o'clock. And of course, that has an influence on our mood, on our whole system. And that influences then our doshas. And that is how to look at it, the temperature. And then also you have, depending on where you are, you might have more wind or other influences, more humidity that has an influence on our body. All of that is coming in when we talk about seasonal changes and how they affect us. But I guess Poppy is going to talk about that anyway in a second. But that's how to look at it. That is what influences. And depending on what it is, kapha is earth and water. So if you look at that, then this has an influence on that specific, but it also, of course, has an influence on the vata as well. But as you were learning, that each of the doshas is actually more dominant in certain climates. And of course, when you are in the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. Then you would have everything that you have in the summer here in the north. They would have what we call winter, but then it's summer there. So we have just to kind of turn it around. And it's also a little bit different, as you saw in India, where they actually name 6 seasons, whereas normally most areas on the world only have 4, or distinguish between 4.
One last question. We were looking at rosemary oil, and it said it combats muscle fatigue. How is it used? Is it used as a tea? Water? Is it applied to over the muscles on the skin? Do you know?
I don't know, but I would guess that it's definitely, as it's an oil, that you could apply it definitely topical, which is in the area where you have that. I'm not sure if you can, rosemary oil actually, but probably you can also use it on in food, because there is food grade rosemary oil out there. So I guess you can also eat it.
Okay.
And but I don't know that, to be honest. I have a lot to learn as well. As you can see, I'm not a know-it-all. But I'm more, as you are asking questions, I know that I'm going to sit there later on and I'm going to do all the research. So everything that I couldn't answer now, I will have next week. Okay, are
Okay.
there any,
Yeah,
i-
that's good.
is it
Great.
all for you?
That's all.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Anyone else, any comments, any questions right now? Let me go into gallery view. Anyone raising their hands?
Nope.
Marie, you are actually having a plant in your hand. What's with that? You
That's
wanna
rosemary.
unmute yourself? What is it?
It's rosemary.
Rosemary. Okay, so what is it? Do you know anything about the difference between putting it on the outside or in the or
Put it-
eating it?
In your food, just taking off the leaves. Most, I'm in Holland and you can buy it dry. Then you get those little leaves. And they have oil. You can use it in food. And you have rosemary. I'm giving massages. So you also have oil for rubbing on the body. And you can make tea of it. And it smells very nice.
Mhm. Okay, so we got already a good answer from Marie now. That's sometimes because, you know, my 3 foods and spices were definitely not rosemary, so I don't know that much about it. Ask me about mangoes and coconut, then I know a little bit more about those because these were my study objects during my course when I went through the course. Okay, so I guess the next point on our list should be then, Poppy, are you ready to give us your little presentation?
Oh, I'm always ready to yabber. I can yabber really well. That
Okay,
was
then.
lovely to see that rosemary plant. That was lovely to see that rosemary plant. I've got a big plant growing outside the clinic door as well, and it's a very beautiful thing. But Bill, what I do in the clinic for if I'm using it on mussels is I use it in fractionated coconut oil. I use that when I'm using it on the mussels particularly, but also the oils that I use and work with and help people with are all food grade, so most of them can be ingested as well. They're completely pure. They don't have any fillers and bits and pieces like that in. So I do use a lot of oils if we ever get onto oils at any point. So let's go to what we're supposed to be doing then. Richardia, if I can say that correctly, and if I can't, at least I've had a go. So I invite you to consider helping me check my understanding of Richardia and the seasonal regime. So it took me a while, as everyone here has said, and I'm thinking, but that doesn't. And then that very handy little chart in the book that showed from an English point of view or a UK point of view, everything is upside down and that you can actually be warm in winter. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am going, because we've got people from all over here, I'm just going from the book perspective. But if you realise that everything's upside down, and also that I'll come to that, but that point about Kafir as well, that made perfect sense because it's like that's when you get a runny nose in spring. You're getting your colds and your snuffles and your water's coming out your snout. So that made sense, but it's just doing that bit of twisting. But it did. At first I was going, what am I missing? And then it was like that helpful little diagram just got it. So that was just from my point of view. So if we look at the understanding of the seasons, gain an understanding of the 2 main seasons, like the northern solstice and the southern solstice. So is that Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, southern solstice?
Mm-hmm.
So specific regions, that regimens as well. I always want to say regimes. Okay, but
No,
regimens
regimen.
It is regimen. Yeah, I know. It just looks at that. So specific regimens for different seasons and what seasonal changes we need to make to the lifestyle and diet can really have positive effects on us if we just work with the external environment. So again, it's just a reminder that humans are part of the same ecology and the environment. They're not separate. We're looking at how the body's influenced by the external environment, and that always is to me that as within, so without. So if we look at that through the Ayurvedic sense, the science of life and the most ancient and comprehensive healing art practice around the world, whoa. So Ayurveda is based on that preventable intervention, which can be achieved by diet and lifestyle in advance. So proactive rather than reactive, and direct correlation to the climatic conditions. So if the doshas are more aggravated, they can be removed by body cleansing procedures and body enhancing procedures. So again, in the year, I love the solstices, but if we look at the two periods, the ayana, the solstice, which again, as we've said before, depends on the movement of the sun. So in the north, if we're going from the book, if we work with the way the book is doing it, the Urutaranya, the northern solstice is when the fire's dominant and human strength is low. The sun and the wind are drying out the cooling properties of the earth, so we need bitter, astringent and pungent tastes. They predominate. So the Dakshina, not quite right, but near enough. Solstice is in the 6-month period from the summer solstice to the winter solstice, when the sun travels south and when the human strength is high. The sun's strength from the people and the moon's more powerful and the earth cools down. So sour, salty, sweet tastes and things predominate there. In Southern Asia, there are 6 seasons or ritu. So if we look at winter in that hemisphere, it's a time not to accumulate kapha. Digestive power is powerful and consumes much. Predominantly sweet, sour and salty tastes are best. Foods like figs, dates, honey help. They provide energy and keep the body warm. Cow's ghee, that was another good one. Cow's ghee helps with the body warmth and stops the dryness and keeps everything lubricated. And veggies like carrots and radishes and onions are always good. And the lovely warm spices like cloves and cinnamon and ginger and star anise. Lifestyle, I like this one. Self-massage in the morning helps the vata, helps balance the vata and keep the skin moisturized, especially on the forehead and scalp. Now that's something I've not tried, I have to say. I couldn't contemplate in not washing in warm water, although I know a lot of people have cold showers, but warm water for washing is key, and nice lightweight sheets as well. Sorry, warm, good weight sheets. Avoid strong and cold winds and don't sleep during the day because that gets kapha accumulating. And avoid cold food products. So home remedies as well, and I use aloe a lot in the clinic. Aloe vera juice helps the skin. I use it for digestive, but here we're looking as well for the skin. So applying that externally is absolutely incredible. And in the spring season, we've got the cleansing of the kapha. The sun's just starting to get stronger and it liquefies the kapha dosha. So just think of that as needing a box of tissues, or that's what helped me anyway. It affects the upper part of the bodies, the respiratory tracts, the sinuses, the ears, the eustachian tubes. It liquefies the digestive fire, the agni, and causes coughs and colds. So kapha can be quickly balanced by strong emesis procedures, those nasal medications. Did you ever look at those little nasal things to pop up your snout? I'd not even come across those, so I thought they were really interesting. Nasal medications to cleanse and easily digestible foods. It's a good time for lots of vegetables because it helps the digestion and the fat reduction that we've gathered over a winter. So dry grains, light, easy to digest grains, barley and millet, and warming spices such as ginger and turmeric, and avoiding hard to digest fatty foods. I mean, here in the UK, it's kind of fish and chips, but I'm not quite sure it is for everyone else. Avoid them. Milk, wheat, red meat, and all of those increase the kapha. So again, using warm water for bathing, gentle exercise, dry powder massage. Now that was a whole new concept. Dry? That's a very interesting one. So look forward to do that. But that removes excess kapha using special herbs or special preparations. So that needs more looking into from my point of view. I think that could be quite handy. The evacuative treatments using one of those nasal things, which I'm just going to procure one of, ready for the next time we need them. And again, avoiding sleeping during the day. So home remedy, ginger, turmeric, basil and honey in certain preparations are really, really good at that time. So summer season, when the sun's the most powerful and the kapha decreases, the vata increases. And that's when we get the main challenges with eyes, skin, tummies, or digestion, should I more correctly say. So avoiding salty, pungent and sour foods. and avoiding heavy exercise. Yes, I like gentle exercise anyway. So, and yogurt isn't good at this time. Yogurt was a whole new learning for me, actually. I'm just digressing, but on my journey, because I've always slathered everything in yogurt and it's like, no. So my lifelong affinity with yogurt has now dissolved, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way we look at it. So yogurt in summertime is not good because it accumulates pitta. It can cause challenges in the autumn period. So again, I started looking at that as when you were watching how the things, so the seasons are affecting things. If we look at that season, how it affects things in the next season, and it's like looking at the dhatus, how things in one dhatu affect the next dhatu. That was a bit that came through to me, or it's starting to, shall we say. So foods need to be sweet, easy to digest with, say, like mint and celery juices, coconut water, and soaked almonds and raisins and things. Wear lightweight clothing, keep cool. Sleep with plenty of ventilation. You need plenty of ventilation. And also oil-wise as well, I do use a lot of sandalwood then. So sandalwood is good, but this says sandalwood and aromatic pastes. And again, avoid heavy exercise. Suits me fine, that one. I need to go and hunt some blackcurrant bushes because the home remedy for that time was about the blackcurrants that help reduce the heat and assist with hydration as well. So that was really interesting, but I need to go and find some blackcurrant bushes. Autumn season is when the pitta starts increasing, and it's a good time for the body to be purged. And I remember Clint saying that thing about the bloodletting and the leeches and things like that, and that one stuck with me. Challenges can be the skin, challenges with the skin, the eczema and the psoriasis type things. And it's a good time to eat only when you're hungry, and use bitter, sweet, astringent, easily digestible foods. Soup's good, but it shouldn't have any cheese or cream or yogurt dolloped in it. And ghee helps remove excess pitta or monitor or moderate excess pitta. And general moderate exercise, again, that pleased me. Walking's ideal. Yeah, we can do walking. Purging, avoiding the excess oils and the excess fats. No daytime sleeping, no overeating, no excessive sun exposure. And a home remedy of turmeric and water. So I think it's, I think just to summarise as well, it's like Vata aggravation happens in early winter. Kapha aggravation happens in spring, and Pitta aggravation happens in autumn. And the other bit that's really important is the transition between the seasons, those 7 days between the seasons. It's important to try and cleanse out the toxins from the previous season. And that was something that hadn't ever crossed my awareness before, but that was really, really good. So yeah, that cleansing. And eating, taste, the sense of taste. I'm a touchy-feely person, so the sense of taste was quite interesting to learn a little bit more about. And it was important to use all 6 tastes daily, so that pungent, astringent, bitter, sweet, sour and salty. Mix those daily, but then if we look at them in the seasons, in winter it's the sweet, sour and salty. In spring it's the bitter, pungent and astringent. And in summer, sweet. Autumn, bitter, sweet and astringent, I think. And seasonal treatments as well, looking at what the body likes. The body always likes to treat though, doesn't it? We've got to treat our bodies a bit better than we normally do. So winter, like a warm massage and a sauna. Sounds good to me, that one. Spring, the nasal. I'm really fascinated by that nasal thing. I really want to have a go with that, but it's the wrong time of year here. But the nasaya to clear the respiratory system. I'm not too keen on the vamana, the vomiting. I think I could take that one. I could leave that one a bit. Summer, warm massage, that warm oil on the forehead. Oh, please bring me someone to drizzle warm oil on my forehead to soothe and calm me. And autumn, that purging time because of the skin diseases. So I think as well, it's okay. We've got all those. Now it's to implement them and find ways of getting them in. But yeah, that nose one is really fascinating to me. But I think that's what I took away from it, and just putting it into practice into the current hemisphere or the area that you are. And what I looked at around me, I know what Cornelia was saying, I looked at a bit more basic. Those are very exotic. I love the sound of those. dandelions around here because we can use the flowers, the roots and the leaves. They are very antimicrobial. They're full of vitamins and minerals. The leaves can be used in salads. The juice can be used for varying sorts of things. What did I put there? The root was good for rheumatics. The sap's really good for skin disease. Cleavers as well, or we call them sticky buds, where you get those little tiny sticky buds on you. Anti-inflammatory, they're a diuretic, they help the lymph system, and all these are what we would term weeds in the UK. And nettles as well. I make lots of nettle soup. I love nettle soup, and I tend to freeze that, but that helps with arthritis and back pain, and vitamins A, C, E and K in that. Natural antihistamine. So it is really fascinating, as Jules was saying, when you do actually just look, and it's like, oh, you kind of know, well, I kind of know bits, but then when you really look, you know more. And I can't remember where this was that we saw it. Somebody said about it, but I did get, if that's the right way around, please tell me, is that the right way around?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That book I got last week. It only came a couple of days ago, and because I'm busy with Dad. It is amazing because let me read the back of it, the bit that I wanted. Included are the most, excuse me, clear my throat. Included are the most commonly used Western herbs with profound Ayurvedic perspective. So again, this helps with the herbs we've got in this neck of the woods or other necks of the woods. Very, very handy little book on whatever and whoever recommended it. I have so much gratitude for. I cannot remember who it was, but cool. I think I've finished.
That was amazing, and you get lots of love here, Poppy. Thank you so much, my dear Poppy, for summarizing it all, so it's easy for us to digest. That comes from Loveland. And thank you, Poppy. I love listening to your enthusiasm for the subject. So wonderful, says Miriam. And yeah, that was really a nice summary for everything that was covered in that. And this is exactly what you need to do. Wherever you are, you apply it to your own region, because like I'm now in the Bahamas, which means we do have seasons, but they are not as they don't differ that much. In the winter, it's still warm here. We hardly have. I mean, if we have 68 degrees, it's cold here. We are freezing, and the Bahamians, are then really wearing caps and sometimes gloves, which is ridiculous when you look at other people. They go swimming at that. Like in Ireland, then it's like 50 degrees and people are out Fahrenheit, and they are out then in the sea swimming. And here they're wearing, when it's 68, they're wearing gloves and hats because it's cold. But that's the difference. And in the summer, it's really hot and humid, but it's still always warm. And so therefore, I have to apply all this knowledge, how it makes sense to a tropical climate. And that is what we all need to do, because even though it's winter or autumn, from a seasonal perspective, it might still be different, because you also have to see what kind of a climate you have, because where you're living. And if you're somewhere in the high mountains, it's again different as if you were living close to the sea. And so really see what you can take out of it and apply to your own area. That is the whole purpose of this lecture, to make us even really, as you were saying, Poppy, to make us aware of what's really going on and what are we surrounded with. And you were saying also what I liked, we consider so many things down there as weeds, and we would normally take them out, and we have totally forgotten what our ancestors knew, that they have actually really value, and that we could use them to stimulate our health and regain our health. And we just don't know it any longer. And when I did my research, just to finish that up, I was actually talking to somebody here in the Bahamas, and there's only like 3 people left that really have this ancient knowledge of all the plants that are here. native to the Bahamas, and where they really still know everything about how to prepare them, how to use them. And so some person is now out there, and she is actually writing a book about that. And I'm really happy that this is happening, so we don't lose that kind of knowledge that our elders still had, and we unfortunately are losing it. But my interest was so raised by going through this course to find out what is native here in the Bahamas, and that I even really looked all the plants up that I never even heard of. And now I'm actually, because I'm from Germany, now I'm actually going and look at what is native in Germany, and to try to find out what I can tell my children that who are all living there, and maybe I find something for them that they had no idea to use.
May I just add one thing? Just going with what you were saying about the ancient ways of harvesting, and you know, whether people harvest by the moon and the way that they do with the herbs and the ancient ways of harvesting. The oils that I use that are pure, they're all harvested in the correct locations at the right time by families that have been doing this for generations and generations. So the frankincense, for example, comes from Somalia, which people may know is so inhospitable. But there is a really amazing co-impact sourcing in that area that's actually, so on both sides of the bottle, there's love and there's goodness. So again, you can find these things, and it is so key. It is so key. So yeah, thank you. I'll mute myself now.
Thank you so much for sharing. As I said, you really get so much love here. And Poppy, your style of sharing is so fun. Thank you, says Rochelle. Awesome, Poppy, said Jasmine. And thank you, Poppy, says Glenda. That was amazing. And Jasmine again said, thank you so much, Poppy. Really beautiful and good summary of the session. Thank you. So we really appreciate you. And that leads me, of course, to next week. Who would be willing to do that for next week? And just to give you an idea, next week we are actually talking about herbal supplements. And what I want you to tell you is actually there is, let me just see, where do I have that here? There is one handout, or the workbook for the training video that goes along with the training video. And this is actually what I would like you to summarize. But there is actually a supplemental handout, which is, I think, 47 or 48 pages long. And it has the most important spices, as well as I think about 10 or 11 of the Ayushakti herbal formulas. And so I don't want you to go necessarily into these if you do the summary, but really just confine it to that. Otherwise, it would be way too long to talk about all the different spices. So is there anyone who's volunteering for?
Cornelia, this is Marie. I'm volunteering.
Okay, Marie, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm volunteering for next week.
Thank you. That is perfect. Thank you. Then we look forward to that, having you summarizing that for us. So are there any questions, any comments before we go actually into our breakout rooms? And I was so fascinated by what you were doing. Marie also just showing a book, the Ayurvedic Cooking for Self-Healing. That is a good book as well that somebody has recommended. And I think we should talk about that when we actually talk about diets, when we go into, which is week 7 and 8. But next week we are still going through the herbs and the herbal remedies. So are there any other questions? And now I need to go back into my rooms and assign everyone to the rooms. Any questions, any comments before we move on? Just unmute yourself.
Cornelia.
Yes, Miriam.
Namaskar, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, I wanted to just share, there's a book by, I don't know if you can see it on my phone, or is it maybe a bit flary, but there's a book by Dr. Deepika who trained with Dr. Naram, and it's called The Ayurvedic Woman, and it really explains the doshas and the dhatus in a very sort of simplified way, and I think it's quite good, so I'm just sharing that.
Can you put the information maybe into the chat box?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Let me do that.
Because then we can all take in the information. And just give me a second here. Carrying here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have done that while Poppy was talking, but I was so fascinated that I forgot that I'm supposed to assign you to the that can happen. Nancy, Napi, and Rochelle as well. So I'm just putting you into the different rooms right now. And of course, as we have 11, it might take me a little moment. So anyone else wants to share while we are waiting? Sorry about that. What was your aha now after listening to this presentation? Did anything new come up? Anything, a better understanding of something after Poppy shared with us? Rochelle, do you want to talk?
Oh, I'm actually open already. How about that?
Yes, you are.
Poppy, your presentation was delightful. Honestly, it was really fun and playful and filled with huge information. And yes, it was very helpful. I was making notes inside of my workbook. I've printed out the materials, and so I have have it in a binder, and so I'm making notes while you were chatting because it was so powerful. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So it is very powerful. And I actually took the course before, and even taking it again has been so helpful in gaining additional wisdom from everybody who is sharing, from the comments. Like Julia, your comments were so helpful to, the people who are doing the reviews. Everybody, you all are our gurus. So thank you so much for being a part of what you're doing and sharing the wisdom that you have come across, because each of us processes everything in sort of a different way. And I'm just blown away by the wisdom that you all are already having, even if it's your first time for taking the class. So awesome. Well done. Thank you.
And Poppy, I just wanted to say thank you as well. One of the things that you made really a lot clearer, and that I struggled with this time, is that it's just whatever season you're in. So it doesn't matter, because in the book it was like it's winter time and then there's the heat, and I'm like, ah! And then there's 6 seasons instead of 8, because my wheel, because of my personal practices, has 8 basic seasons to it, right? Where you've got your 4 seasons and then what's called the winds of change in the middle of that. And so, I've worked that wheel, that medicine wheel for many, many years. And then I was like, solstice to solstice? Okay. And then finally, when we got to the 6, I still haven't figured all that out yet, but I'm pretty sure. And just from hearing you, it's like, just plug it in where you are and let it work for you. And so I appreciated that so very much. And that just sort of helps me let go of all this mind stuff of having to figure it out. So thank you. Namaskar.
Marie, thank you so much. But it's so, I'm a feely person. I feel. I don't think with my head. I kind of know, and I feel, and I can feel every blade of grass. That's how I work. That's my function. So it is easy to kind of feel it when you are like that. But I think the key thing for me, which I think will be for you as well, is the like the transition between those parts of the wheel, whether they're 4, 6, 8. It's those transitional bits. But I think my biggest click as well was how the seasonal stuff, if you mess something up in one season and don't pay attention to it, then it's tottling along your datus as well. And it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, right. That's right. Because as you're with Pitta, this one's melting off and you're going in, and then by the time you hit autumn, Pitta's absolutely aggravated, and you're also moving towards Vata at the same time, right? Which is, so it's very, this is one of those things I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to have to live it over and over and over, and just notice where I am in the seasons and see what's going on. And like you're saying, just feel into it. What's going on here? And this and that, and this and that, and protecting the dhatu ahead, or the doshas and the dhatus ahead of time, rather than always playing catch up, which is kind of what we always do, right? Something goes wrong and we catch up, right? Instead of that, really paying attention and feeding and nourishing before we get to that point of aggravation. So it's anyway, thank you for that. It was a very wonderful.
Proactive, not
Appreciate
reactive.
So we have 2 more hands raised, Julia and Marsha, and then we go into the breakout rooms.
Okay, I had another question. Yeah, so this is brought to mind to me. What I'm feeling is that all these questions, it's like I almost feel like I wish I had someone who really understands this that I could go to and say, okay, help me personalize this for myself. Here's where I'm at. Here's my seasons, where I live in the world. Here's my dosha. And I think this is what my dosha is. Like my husband and I have taken these tests online, and different tests reveal that we're different dosha mixtures. So they're not all like the same, depending on how many questions are in the survey. So it's kind of like I'm feeling like there's still a lot of question mark, like, well, do I do this or do I do that? Or is this right? Or is that right? And I don't want to be in my head. I want to just say, somebody give me a personalized instruction. Say, okay, here's your scenario. Here's where you are. Okay, because these factors are in place, here is the best plan for you. There you go. Just follow it. And that's what I'm kind of wanting is somebody help me with a plan. Like, I still am not clear on all the foods to eat for my body for the season I'm in. And like to have something really make sense that is clear and not confusing. That's what I'm feeling I need.
Okay, may I just respond to that quickly? The best way to do that in general is to actually book yourself a consultation with an Ayush Shakti doctor, because they will then do that. And the other thing is, what we are learning here is, in a sense, general information. Because depending on what your constitution is right now, you might have actually a disease. I'm not saying you have, but you might. And before you can actually apply the general rules for something, you might be better off to actually take care of what is causing the disease. And it's actually true for all of us, what this disease is actually being caused by. So we might need to do something else first before we can then go into a normal regimen of how to stay healthy. These are things that are meant for somebody who is more or less healthy. But as we all have issues, and I'm included, so we might be better off first. And this is why they are offering the whole thing. And I want to speak to that as well right now, even though I don't have all the information yet, to actually have an appointment with an Ayurvedic doctor. Let them help you tell you what doshas you are, because they can tell you, even though they are not doing a pulse reading, just by looking at your face and your skin tone and all of that, they will be able to tell you what it is. And then depending on what condition you are at the moment, then they will advise you on what to do. And that will then, because you have aggravated or vitiated Vata or whatever, and then you're doing something that might not actually be according to the season right now, because you need to take care of what is in the moment, and then the rest falls into place later. If that makes sense, Julia?
Mhm. Yes, yes, I have met with the Ayush Shakti doctors. Yeah, so I guess we just keep following that and keep learning.
Yeah, you keep learning. And the other thing that I just said, what I wanted to mention is that they are planning now with the, we are going into the diets, and then also Panchakarma, which is actually the cleansing of the body. So they are offering again a 30-day cleanse under supervision of the Ayush Shakti doctors. And that is starting in beginning of August. And I will have more information in a few days when you can actually sign up, how to sign up, and what would happen is you would have actually 3 consultations, one before you start, one in the middle of the 30 days, and then one at the end. And the package also includes all the herbs that you would need. And I will have the information in hopefully tomorrow or Monday. And then I will send out an email, because I don't have it all yet to actually speak about it. I just know it's coming, and that Dr. Clint and Dr. Hemang are setting it up at the moment. The website is being set up to accept the signups. So that is coming in so if you want to have a supervision in doing a proper cleanse, if you have never done that, that would be a good time to do it, because then you have the whole support of the Ayush Shakti doctors with you.
So
just you know that this
is the cleanse during the whole month of August, like, because we're going to be traveling in August, so I don't know that would be, or could we do it later? Is it
it is during that time, which is actually because you are then also having kind of I think weekly calls or something like that, where you can actually meet, or a support group on Facebook, or I don't know exactly how it works. As I say, I don't have the information yet, but there's definitely something coming. So it would be, I think it starts in the end of the first week of August or something like that. That's when they plan to start. So if you're traveling, I'm not sure if that's a good time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Masha?
Oh my goodness, this is so great, okay? Thank you, Poppy, for your presentation. You're brilliant. You know, I love you so much. And I was able to visualize the whole picture with the northern solstice and the different seasons. And for me, that was important. And I intend, I've printed out the book. I can't see a thing. So now I'm going to go to Staples and have them print it out and make a big chart so I can see it and put it in front of me. And that's how I learn, The other thing is this chat, this chat is a program unto itself. The things that people are sharing are brilliant, but the things that people are saying are brilliant. But I just can't do both at the same time. So I know I'm missing out. I don't know. You know what? I want to listen because I want to be respectful to people who are in front of me speaking. That's who I be, okay? Do I want to be respectful to the chat? Of course I do, but I'm finding it difficult. It's another course. All right, so maybe
it is. What you will get is when you go into the recordings, when you go back into the bonus section and you go to the recording from today's call, the chat will be up. So you can actually download the chat and you can go through the chat and you can read everything that is there, because sometimes the informations are amazing. What we get in the chat, but I'm similar like you are. I'm not normally, when I'm not having to read it, I'm not doing it, and I'm not typing much in the chat. Others are just brilliant and can do two things at the same time.
Thank you.
But this is definitely what you have. You can go back into the chat and read through all of that, and some of the information. That's why I said to Mariam to share the information in for the book in the chat, because now everyone can go back and can actually have a look at it, even if it's not right while we are in the chat or while
Yes.
we are on the call.
This
Okay.
100-day course, I didn't know ahead of time, but this 100-day course is not a course 2-3 hours a week. This is like a 24/7 course that I didn't expect. I will catch up. I will get it because that's the plan. And, you know, I love it. Thank you,
Good.
everybody. I love you all. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. So that means now we're a little bit late today, but it's still good. We still have time, plenty of time. So I open up the rooms now, so you can go and have a chat in your pod and exchange whatever you want to share about the week, your experiences. And the only thing that I would kind of like to say is, if you want to, which is really nice for everyone, is the plans that you picked. If you want to share those that you have kind of collected and all the knowledge, if you want to share those actually in the forum under week 5 in the challenge activity, then all the work you have done for maybe your region with the spices or the plants that you chose, everyone will benefit from it, and not just you. And so that might be an idea that if you want to share it there, then if you have the information anywhere on your computer, then it's just more or less copy and paste into a post in the forum. So that's it for the moment and for now. So I put you in the pods and open all the rooms, and you know what to do. You just click on the little button that came up, and it will let you right into your pod. And I have 4 people that aren't assigned yet, so give me a second. I will just assign you.
You know I'm Friday, right?
Yes, you are Friday. Do you want to go into room 11? There are 2 people in there. So it's Anik.
Who's
It's
that?
in pod. I can put you into pod 11. Let me just see that Anik is there, so I can assign you to pod 11.
Okay. I think I was with them another time. And
You
Jason.
were in that one before, yeah. So if you can go with them, there's only Anik there, and
I think JC
I don't know.
there too, right?
He's there, but he is not. He hasn't joined yet, so I don't know where he is. I assigned him, but he probably is not. Shiva, you can go into. Okay, she just went. And Chris, if you go then into good.